how would you spend, how do you spend your money? If we give you, for instance, 3,000 bob today, how would you spend that money if it was given to you now? How do you spend it? And this is one of the things, it's not the only thing, it's one of the things that we're discussing when we talk about personal finance and financial planning as an individual. And I'm joined in studio by Simon Wafubwa, who's the CEO of Annual Financial Services.
Thank you, Dan.
As well as Waithaka Gatumia, the General Manager of Centonomy. Thank you for joining us, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Now, I'll begin with you, Waithaka. How should we, is there a formula for how we should plan our money in terms of, I have been paid my salary?
Yes.
So what formula should I use? Because usually the default for me is pay your bills, and whatever remains, let's see how to work it out.
And that's why things are tough, isn't it? Yeah. Because if you leave the planning for your money to everybody else, everyone else has a plan. Yes. Even us who are sitting here in front of you, yes. We're in business. We actually have a plan for your money.
Yes.
So the best place to begin, the formula to begin with, is have your own plan. What does that mean? You have to have a goal in mind. I want to achieve this by this period of time. And therefore, if I want to do that, then I can't spend on all these other things that Waithaka has a plan for, that the supermarket has a plan for, that the government has a plan for. Before you even receive your money, everybody has taken a piece of it. And so the first place to begin with is with a goal in mind. What do you want? Because if you don't know what you want, then I tell you, Dan, I will have a plan for your cash. Even now, after this, you can take me for lunch. It's okay. I don't mind. I will not refuse. But if you now know what you want to do, then you'll decide, where does my money go? So start off with a plan. Start off with a goal. Then put a plan into action and then work on it. I think that's the best formula. Because anytime you start talking about percentages and you say this percentage should go to rent, this should go to this, it's dangerous. Because for some people, if I was to tell them to put 30% into rent, for instance, or to housing, they would not eat. If I was to tell somebody else who is earning a huge amount of money to put 30 towards rent, they would be overspending on the housing that they are. So we must decide where you want to go and then put a plan into action for that.
And I think it's a very interesting conversation here because just to add on to my colleague is that also understanding who you are is quite important in the agenda of effective personal financial management. From the viewpoint that if you, for example, you find yourself you are an extrovert. Extroverted people tend to do things and think later. Introverted people tend to reflect on issues, take time, and they are able to make quality decisions. So if you know your worth, you'll stop giving people discounts of your own value. And I think that will also resonate with your risk appetite, your planning, the way you even spend your money. And we have a situation where some people will go to a supermarket, impulsively buy things, fill the trolley, and when they get into the house, they realize, oops, why did I buy this? It's just because of their personality. And so by having a deeper understanding of who you are in terms of your personality profile, a lot more in terms of appreciation of how you spend and how you can manage yourself, and even how you can get support mechanisms can also be a good way of managing your money.
Can I add on to that, Dan, if you don't mind? I must defend all the extroverts out there.
Yes, because I'm an extrovert. I'm wondering, what is my future like?
Maybe the two of us is where the issue would be. So here's the thing. I think also introverts, it's about balance in life. Introverts also have a danger of never taking action.
Absolutely.
Because they tend to be very, very thoughtful on an issue, and you can think forever before taking action. And when it comes to opportunities come and they pass. And if you don't make a decision in good time, then there can be a problem there. However, I completely agree with you that those of us who are extroverted, we tend to just, when you're out in a party somewhere, everybody's having fun, let's have another round, and you pay for the round, not having thought about it. But it's about balance, that you're able to think and take action. And for both personality types, you have to watch. But most people are not completely extrovert or completely introvert. They're in between. You're probably towards one side of the spectrum as well.
Okay, and let me just ask, there's usually, you'll be told, like financial, planners and consultants, the personal finance ones are going to usually tell you, like you alluded to, spend X amount on, rent, percentage on rent, on the other. Should we have these kind of formulas for even money we get, like side hustles or windfall. Let me put it for windfall, something that I didn't expect. Like they were saying, if you give someone a random 2,000 shillings,
Yep.
should we still have a strict formula of how to spend that kind of money as well?
I think as Waithaka puts it, at some level can be a bit challenging, just to be very realistic. But the moment you possibly are having some significant, say like 20,000 and above, it's worthwhile to have a plan that you can be able to break down expenditure. And generally 50% you could be able to apply it on basic necessities, and then 10%, like from our annual financial services, we recommend enjoy a bit of it, because you cannot just be working. And there's a science around it that people who have the practice of setting goals and enjoying a bit of it, they develop an inner motivation, self-motivation, that next time you set higher goals, you are able actually to have inner self-drive to be able to achieve those goals. So next time you get 100,000, take 10,000, fly to Mombasa. If you have no relative, fly back in the evening. It's okay. Fly to Uganda a bit. You know, when you move around, move around for things to see you. When things see you, they will also appreciate you exist, and you're able also to inspire yourself to achieve greater goals in life. And then, of course, 10% sustainably in terms of savings, and 10% in terms of investments for emergency kitty. And that emergency kitty is very important, because right now we have a lot of people who are actually in debt trap. In fact, I do recommend one way of getting out of debt is deleting those mobile credit applications from the phones, such that you find a man, for 9 months, he knew the wife was expectant, but on the day of delivery, he say, I have an emergency. That's very interesting. And as such, then you find that they'll rush into Shylocks, end up borrowing expensively, and then they just keep on digging deep into debt.
Okay, and we've been asking you, what would you do with money, the money you have, like 3,000 shillings, if we gave you money now, what would you do with it? And before we get to some of the responses from the counties, as well as get some feedback in regards to what has been said by the IG Boynet and the rest, we look at some of the feedback. Some people are already giving some of the feedback on our hashtag NTV Today, tagging NTV Kenya and at Dann Mwangi. Some say, there's a lady here who says, that's Lavine Achieng. She says, I would restock my collection of handbags that I hawk for a living, so she would invest in her business. We also have Langat Dennis, who says, that's more than enough for me to start small business of selling socks, vests, and boxes. We have some serious entrepreneurs here. I'll take another one here. This is Geospata, or Njogu Joseph. Geospata is just above there, but his handle is Njogu Joseph 540. I'm still a student, and the cash I would use to pay my school fees balance, which is 10,000 shillings, and that the cash would reduce my debt. Those are some of the views we have from various, some of you who've been tweeting us. We also have Machwani. I've gone to the wrong handle, but Machwani says he would quickly go and buy unga. Let me just go back to his tweet. Let's just go. There's Lauret says, I would pay my M-Shwari loan, which is 2,000 shillings, and the remaining 1,000 to do some shopping for the house. So that's domestic consumption there. And we have Machwani saying, teke. His tweet keeps refusing. It's kind of resisting, but we'll find it and we will read it. There we go. Yes, teke mfuko ya unga, juyo ndio the next cup and a bay. We will get, I'll not hit translate, but the gist is that he would go and buy unga to eat. Then we have the Politica KE saying 1,000 shillings fuel, 500 shillings on evening meals, 500 shillings on tomorrow's lunch in the house, and 1,000 on the next day's fuel. Now this comes from the sugar report. I would bribe my MP, which is what is loosely referred to as the MPs by those who are not happy with them, to shoot down the sugar report. I'll read one more here. Let me just make it a bit smaller. This is Kikoech. Koech says, it's my mother's birthday today. Happy birthday to your mom. I'll spend 2K to surprise her with a present and the remaining 1K as transport to go join her in celebrating together. Gentlemen, we've seen different views on how people would use the money that they get if you gave them 3,000 shillings. Simon, for you, who stood out from the different people who decided to use the money in different ways? Who stood out for you?
I think the gentleman who has a bit of fuel and then food, I found that to be looking at spreading even within the limited resources that he had.
The spreading. What about you, Waithaka?
No, I was clapping for everybody because the good thing is that everybody looked at it and saw a plan. I cannot even speak against this person who said it's my mother's birthday today.
Yes.
You know, sometimes there's some things you can't put a price on. And as you said earlier, this was not money that you had planned for. It was not money that it came to you, and it was not part of your whole plan. So if you were to use it for something like that, I could not hold it against you. But I think it's so important to note, everybody here was talking about some of the needs that they have, and I was so grateful for that. But many times, and now let's speak to the real people who we need to deal with, the Kenyan middle class and the upper class as well. They are the ones who would receive this cash, and as you had, rather than even putting fuel, that 3K, that's lunch, one day. In fact, having done that, if you look around us, we always have to be aware of how many Kenyans are struggling. And that you can see somebody is making that choice and saying, I put a bit in unga, start a business, do like this. We must be purposeful with our money in the same way. So I was just applauding the whole time. Hey, somebody is going to plan for it. Someone has a plan for 2 days. Another one is thinking of other people. I hope you noticed many people there were not talking about themselves. There was my family, somebody else. I thought that's amazing. Very
and
good.
School fees. And we've seen others saying that I'd clear the debt.
Correct.
I see there's someone called Redemptor Mutinda. She says, I will clear some debts and it's done. With the 3,000 bob sohab. It seems the most pressing thing for her right now is the debts that she has. That's I also saw someone someone called Mwakio, who responded to the guy who broke down 1,000 bob fuel, 500 for evening meals, 500 tomorrow's lunch. Interestingly, he or she insists that he's in the house. Because it seems that it's cheaper to eat in the house than to decide, let me go. That's my assumption, though. And 1,000 shillings for the next day's fuel. Then someone, now Mwakio, who is a Chelsea fan, saying Chelsea all the way, says, I would give it to this guy because this makes sense. So this is the guy who did the 1,000 fuel, 500, the breakdown basically of the different ways that he would actually do it.
Absolutely.
We're seeing there's a lot of spending here. We're not seeing anyone saying saving. And Kenya generally has a reputation of having a not too good a saving culture. Simon, where are we here? Why don't we have this saving culture? We just a spend kind of society, and why?
I think if you look at general statistics, insurance penetration just under 3%. And that's just to be able to give a snippet of where we are. If you look at the pension sector where we play, the industry stands at just about 1.1 trillion. With less than, right until recent, just under 20% in terms of coverage on pension. Generally, we are not doing very well in terms of saving. And I think the issue is attitude. You will never have enough to actually save. Even at 20 shillings, we have like the Empower Pension Plan, someone can still be able to save. So I would normally say that it's got to do with an attitude. Irrespective of how much you're actually getting, you can still be able to set aside for a future. I listened to the speech recently by President Barack Obama while he was in South Africa, and he said, what you slay at age 30 will slay you at age 50. So if we eat our future now, our future will eat us when we get there.
And our question of the day, where we're asking, how would you best spend 3,000 shillings? Send to us your comments. If we give you 3,000 bob, we have Akram Sood saying that they would buy food for their family. I'd buy food for my family. That's what Akram Sood says. Then we have Miss Musilivi, who says that I would use 2,000 shillings to boost my business page and 1,000 to prepare for orders made. Fully business investment there. We have Jeremiah Rambo, or Rambo Juma, I don't know that Rambo is his real name or because he was a great fan of Sylvester Stallone when he was still Rambo. Nonetheless, he said that if given 3,000 shillings, I will start a small grocery to raise my college fee and also so that I can go back to school after staying at home because of lack of fees. And we hope that someone can actually attend to you. That is Rambo Juma, who says that he'd use that for a small business. He's investing to try and grow his own capacity. Then we have Slane Walters. I would pay 500 shillings for MT insurance, 1,000 shillings to and from fare to university, 1,500 shillings remaining for food while at school. Okay, there's some sense of sustainability. Everyone is trying to keep themselves sustainable altogether. I would add to my investment on shares. I'm not seeing anyone saying like what we saw in Rongo of the lady who said that she would jipodoa first.
Odoa.
Let's talk about that a bit.
You must look nice.
Yes,
Dan.
Achillid says that they would buy jackets, mitumba, and take them to those living in the streets. Again, a very selfless kind of approach, kind of action. And we have the final one we're going to be sampling for now before we get back to the panel discussion. With a BCom degree and being jobless for quite a while, I intend to use it to start up chapati selling business. I would build on this business and use knowledge from campus to invest in other avenues like agriculture. That is Mbai Clifford. He called himself Mbai the Great, and I like that. Despite him having a BCom degree and being jobless, he still chooses to call himself Mbai the Great. And you can see that it speaks to the issues about unemployment in the country and how, you know, people who are actually very well read, they've actually studied, they've got their education, so to speak, pretty clear, and they've got a good record for themselves when it comes to education. Again, on this round of tweets, what stood out for you? Which of those stood out for you? What are the different comments you have on those?
I think all through I noticed the entrepreneurial spirit rising up within the Kenyan, I mean, across the people that have put up their comments on Twitter. And this, I think, just speaks to us that resources are not scarce. It's just resourceful minds which are.
Okay.
That every day we have an opportunity that with the little we have, we can start from where we are and make use of what we have to be able to grow what we have.
I'm a bit concerned, though.
Yeah.
I know that there's the point of view that you can be excited that everyone is thinking in an entrepreneurial way, but it requires action. And what we have seen over and over in our classes at St. Autonomy is that those who have created wealth, those who have actually made it in their business, didn't wait for a windfall like this. So in as much as I'm excited that people are thinking, if I was to receive 3,000 shillings, this is what I would do. I think what would be more exciting is how can I get to the 3,000 to do the thing that I'm saying now. I like that you started the conversation that everybody here is now beginning to think, oh, if I got, I would do this. Why didn't you have the plan beforehand? I
Could it be that they had the plan, they just don't have the resources?
Now, that's a good question, but as Simon was mentioning, the issue is often many times not even resources. When you're thinking about investing in a business, there is a lot of money. In fact, Simon will tell you there's a lot of money in this country for investment.
Absolutely.
The problem is that we don't have great ideas.
Yes.
Great ideas that have been tested, that somebody has put their blood, sweat, and tears into.
True.
Because if I'm going to take my hard-earned money and put it into your business, it better make sense for me and that I'll get my money back. But many times people are looking for, the unfortunate thing is that we've got this culture of handouts. We expect people to just help you out of the goodness of their heart. I assure you, any businessman who's out there worth his salt is not going to invest in a business that's not going to make money back for him. And so my concern is that there seems to be an energy that people are waiting for money to come to them. Create the idea. Put together the plan. Test it at 200 shillings instead of at 2,000 or 300 shillings. Prove it and go to then your parents or your uncle and find out and say, with 200, I've made 400. Can you help me to get to the 3,000 that I'm looking for?
Okay.
But many times we stop at the idea stage and don't push it.
Something interesting we saw from Rongo is that, like, the lady there, and she's very unashamed about it, and she said at first, the first 500 shillings she will use for her own cosmetic value. Is there anything wrong with that? Because we are talking about, we are seeing the people who are talking about hard investments.
Yes.
You know, there's a lady who said she'd begin by treating herself in terms of kujipodoa
Yes.
for 500 shillings.
Yeah. Absolutely nothing wrong, Dan. Looking nice is good. And sometimes when you look nice, people tend to think you have a bit of money. And as such, it builds some level of trust to get more money. But I think the concern is perhaps just the balance, to ensure that you don't overdo it at the expense of your future sustainability financially. They're having just a modest view of it. And that would include even on the comment of the gentleman who said that he will put the whole of it into paying electricity bill. And I was just saying, look, even if you shower with a cold shower and a hot shower, you will still come out clean. And so it's just to adjust to live within your livelihood. And one of the reasons why people remain poor perpetually is that every end of the month God gives us a fruit. In the fruit, there is a seed. The poor man eats to finish. They eat the fruit, they eat the seed. And they look for where the fruit came from, they cut the tree, they burn. There's no tomorrow. But for those who create wealth sustainably, they will just eat the fruit, the seed they plant, and that's savings and investment, so that they can continue to sustainably have a fallback tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Waithaka,
Yep.
what's the balance between what has been the traditional type of investment and savings and creating, mobilizing resources vis-a-vis the current new ones? Because we have our mothers. One of the things we knew about them was chamas.
Yes.
We knew the word chamas before we understood what it is.
Yes.
You know, nimeenda chama. Nimeenda chama. But we've seen new avenues of investment nowadays. Are we saying that the chama kind of setting is no longer as relevant, or is it because you might find there's someone who's watching, a young person, and a lot of the feedback we're getting here, I presume, I sense is from young people. Yeah. Is it to say that, you know, chama should not be a significant option for them? Should they go for the more new and more current and lucrative looking options?
Well, I think it's a balance. So there are two things here. I applaud all those who are members of chamas because they put into place the discipline of saving. And then at the end of it, they're able to do some of the things that they couldn't do on their own. The power of a chama is that there's unity, and that you're using the strength of the community around you. So I would not say, no, don't get into a chama. But I think we can upgrade our chamas from what they used to be. I think the merry-go-round system can be used. I think if you're able to pool resources like that and invest them. You see, we're having a conversation using technology. Everybody here has access to the internet. That's why we're seeing their tweets here on the board. On the internet, please just, instead of just reading all the tweets that everybody is saying, get a book and read on how can I take my chama to the next level as an investment group to the next level. Because many times if you leave that same technology and that same idea, that business idea in the past, then you will be surpassed by the times. The second thing is this. Look, everyone here has been speaking about some form of saving. Can you educate yourself about it? And that's where the difference comes. People have got caught in the old system of doing because there's no reading being done. There's no search for new information. And when you do so, you see those chamas now beginning to flourish. I'm telling you, many of the businesses that we are seeing that have grown out were chamas. It's just that they formalized it, they put it together, they realized the power of pooled resources in order to grow. So yeah. I think we have to just think beyond, not saying that chama is a bad thing. It's can we upgrade the chamas into this century that we are in now.
But I think I also would be inclined to the idea that chama should be a bit more inspirational, not just to consolidate funds and buy utensils in the house. You need to have a little bit of greater goals that are a bit more inspirational. But my view around chamas is get people who possibly can value add to your life. And they have a lot greater ambitions because it is in your networks that you define your net worth. Your networks determine your net worth. So if you keep on hanging around people who are woye, 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 your life will just be woye, woye. I can assure you, Dan, if in your phone book, 100 people keep on sending you, please call me, you will also be sending me, please call me. So we need to get, even within the chama, a bigger goal that can be able to, when you pull together those resources, you know you are being driven towards a greater goal that you can all celebrate and profoundly impact your life.
Okay, and so how do I know what to invest in?
everything starts from where we began today, Dan.
Yeah.
What do you want to achieve?
Yeah.
So in the investment classes that we run,
Some of us just want to make money and be sustainable.
good. Now, the first thing that you said is make money. You're already making money, so you're part of the, you're employed, so you're making money. The second one is you said it must be sustainable. What is sustainability? There's some growth and some income. So here's the thing. If I want, for instance, in any of our classes we talk about this, you want to put aside some cash for school fees that I need in 6 months, please do not go to the stock market to put that money there. Because the volatility in the stock market within 6 months, you may lose or you might make a lot. Do you want to risk the school fees in 6 months?
No.
So again, I want school fees, therefore I need a secure investment, like a savings account, like a money market fund, like any of these where there's low risk and low return, but you're able to get it back. If no, Dan, I know you're looking for security, and I know, Dan, you're a Kenyan, like all other Kenyans with the Kenyan dream. You want to own a plot and build a house somewhere.
Yes.
That's part of the sustainability plan. So that's a long-term plan. So you're saying within the next 10 years, I want to be able to live on my own. I want to be able to build a house and do that. Please do not then go and put that cash into a savings account where it is not growing. You need now to be aggressive and say, can I start a business where I'll get a high return? Or instead of getting a business, can I put that cash into other businesses, which is what the stock exchange is, and hopefully that it'll grow over that time. You have time to recover and grow. So it always starts with, what do you want to do? When you know what you want to do, then come to us. We'll tell you where the investment is. That's what you
I know, just to also pick up on that. You know, we've had many nice, glorious stories of entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Simon, you're one.
Yes.
You know, we've had these good stories of someone who started, and there's very inspirational elements of it. I began with almost nothing. I began with 2,000 bob, and now I'm making 2 billion, you know, that kind of thing.
Yes.
There's been such glory around it that it makes it look like if you're not doing entrepreneurship, there's something wrong with you. Because there are people who are made for employment. So how then does someone know that, because maybe I'm frustrated with my job and I want to leave, and so I say, you know what, I'll go start my own business. How do I then know that, you know, I'm not mismanaging my resource by saying, and also my talent, my gift, and my abilities as a resource by going into entrepreneurship, yet I'm cut out for employment?
I think that's why I started by saying that you need to know yourself. And one way of doing that is you can look at what is the passion of life you have, define your purpose very clearly, and you can validate that with the people around you. After validating that, you possibly will be well positioned to know yourself very well. But I do agree with you, not everyone is actually cut out to be an entrepreneur. Because it takes a lot more than what we actually just keep on hearing about those stories. So, but just adding on to what he was saying is that pension schemes is one other option in terms of saving. And the advantages around it, Dan, is that for every 1,000 you save through a pension scheme, if you're salaried, you save on tax around 250 shillings. That's a lot, up to a maximum of 20,000 per month. So already you have tax efficiency. In his book, The Unfair Advantage, Robert Kiyosaki, he says, the rich people know how to effectively manage tax. And tax is one key component that one has to look at when it comes to saving. But also the returns are good. Like our personal pension plan, the annual personal pension plan last year, our return was 18%. Because we diversify in different portfolios like equities. So, and they are legislated, it's secure, the governance framework is quite robust as provided within the retirement benefit sector. And you don't have to necessarily wait until age 50 to access your money if it's a personal pension plan and your employer didn't contribute. If it's on your own contribution, you can accumulate through that vehicle and then be able to either buy that plot or perhaps even invest into a business that you desire. Actually, I bought my first plot within 2 years through a personal pension saving.
Now, let me, excuse me, just interrupt there and just ask. You speak about pensions, and I know that's one of the significant things that NWealth handles.
Yes.
Why don't we have people doing, you know, as much of savings in terms of pensions? Those who have got money going to a pension scheme are partly because employed, like, you know, if I'm employed and through my employer, there's a structured way of it happening. So it, alongside the billions of taxes that, you know, are collected, there's a deduction for for pensions,
Yeah.
but not many people really care or know about it to a point where it will interest them to feel that this is actually something I should save for. Is it because you guys in the financial services sector speak so much jargon that the common mwananchi will hear premiums and hear such big words that they do not relate with it?
I think through the research findings we have done in partnership with Strathmore is one of the notable observations that has come out, that the way financial literacy is communicated is not quite of great impact to achieve the desired results. And that's a conversation we're having within the industry. From our end as NWealth, we are making changes in terms of our financial literacy curricula and member education that we do for our clients. But also on the other hand, Dan, most employees have outsourced that responsibility for retirement planning to the employer. I think is a wrong thing.
Why so?
It's a primary responsibility, because when you get to retirement and you serve alone. The employer will not be there. I think, in my view, the employer is a secondary pillar, just to play a facilitator role. But the responsibility lies with me as an employee. Look for information, validate that information, and seek for a facilitation, enabling environment by the employer in terms of how then to be able to save. And those mechanisms and avenues do exist. Today, even when you call at RBA, you'll be able to get guidance on where to save and how to save for retirement, leave alone the players in the market. So information is there. It's the attitude. It's the attitude.
But the thing is, Dan, in fact, that's why Centonomy is in business.
Yeah.
It's because talking about money is difficult.
Yes.
And many times it's about understanding where is someone coming from, where do they want to go. And in response to the question that you asked earlier, how do I know whether I'm built for business or employment?
Yes.
What is that about? We discovered the same thing. So when our founder Washeke started Centonomy, it started out of conversations with people and sitting across from someone and asking, what do you like? What do you enjoy? What are the goals that you have? What are the plans that you have? And in so doing, then putting together a financial plan for them, which at some point for some people means moving into a business. For others, it means how can you begin to be an what we call an intrapreneur rather than entrepreneur, so that within the business that you're working in, that you're being creative. The same skills that it takes to be an entrepreneur, being creative, taking risk as well, taking opportunities as they come along the way, you're able to put them into place. But across all the services that we have, because we educate simply on finances, we understood that whether it's your personal finance, you need to understand yourself first. Whether it's entrepreneurship, we spend a lot of time trying to understand the person's mind. Whether it's career development, in the business space, have you understood how much value you are to your employer when you create value yourself? Not that the employer is going to give you everything on a silver platter.
Yes.
They will pay you more if you're more valuable to them. That's the attitude you must have.
And I just want to give this profound example I came across about 3 years ago. This institution was retrenching Dan. The CEO retired at the same time was retrenched at the same time with the driver. The CEO was getting 1.2 million per month. That's someone else's annual pay. The driver was getting around 50,000 per month. When the CEO came to my office, he was saying, look, could you get me another job at age 54? Because he says, the car he was driving was on mortgage, 9 million. He had 2 children in the UK, US, masters, 4 million. The house he was staying on is on mortgage. I think he didn't disclose whether the wife was on mortgage too. So it was pressure. But the gentleman who came, the driver, 50,000 when we were paying his pension, he said, that's the language he used. Mi sina shida, hata ni vizuri wameni retrench. Because while he was working, he saved a bit in the circle. He bought some plots in Rongai. He did some real estate, Mabati. So the Mabati real estate, Mabati is real. You can touch, you can feel it's real. So he said, this 800,000 cash lump sum you're paying me, I'll add water, I'll also add electricity and increase rent. So I sat back and I said, then who is poor here? Was it the CEO or was it the driver? And I came to a conclusion that a lot of the financial literacy that people are exposed to doesn't necessarily change behavior, because he was a CEO of a financial institution. And that was a very interesting observation I came across. So resources will always come our way, but how do we be able to manage those resources effectively, efficiently, aligned to our long-term goals in a way that can be quite a bit sustainable?
The comfort comes from a salary.
Yes.
And especially those who are in a salary. If you're not thinking beyond, anytime there's an increase in income, what tends to happen? We increase our spending. Anytime the paycheck increases, we don't think first, how can I spend, how can I save more, how can I invest more to get more returns? The first thought is you go to your house, you look at it, you say this place is too small.
Yes.
You move. Then you think, now that I've moved to this apartment, now can I be driving the same old car that I was driving before?
But Waithaka, some of them are people's prayers answered. Someone has been praying, I want God give me a big car. You know.
Let me tell you.
So the job comes with the better job comes with the perks.
Correct.
Yes. How do you then balance between this blessing and you know, if you can afford it?
It is about understanding what the goal is. If you continue in the same direction that you're going right now, that one who's an entrepreneur is building a business that hopefully will be able to pay them in the future. You who's employed, what is going to pay you in the future? So we talked about the pensions that we're having here. Hopefully you'll increase the payments there. I know there many times when you're dealing with accountants, when they say, do you want to increase? People are like, what? Increase my pension for what? We don't know. What about also now beginning to put that cash into those investments that at some point will pay you back? Nothing wrong done with owning a nice car. Please own a nice car, by the way. Do so, but do it affordably. With sustainability. The issue is if it's as you had on a mortgage, there's a house on mortgage, you've taken 2 loans and education loans and all these different things, then actually as Simon was saying, you are poor because should your job disappear, and we find many people are in that precarious stage, and you have to then make a decision and say, what is important to me? Is my children and these things that I want to have, make sure they're sustainable. Grow sustainably. Not that you don't want to grow. The issue is that we want it today. And if you look at anybody who has truly created wealth, they didn't make it overnight. That overnight success was 10 years of preparation in order for them to do what they do.
And something that's interesting as we start drawing to a close the conversation is that we see a lot of young people. Like we've said, some of the people who've given us feedback here are young people. And some of the tips which you've not read indicate some of them would want to get into sports betting. Okay? And there have been moral concerns, and the concerns, some of them have actually made profits, if we put it that way. You know, some have made profits. There are some who possibly have gotten burnt their fingers, if we put it that way. Why shouldn't one get into this? Because for some of them, it may look like it. I'm looking at a tweet here of a guy saying that he even did research, and now he even has a strategy of how he invests in that, because now he calls himself a wise investor. So how do we balance, you know, someone feels this is actually money that they're going to make money. Some argue it's another stock exchange. Like you said, you can't put school fees in the stock exchange hoping it will build. How then what's the balance then for such people?
Well, here's the thing. Please be aware that the house always wins. You can just look at those who own those sport betting companies versus who the people are who use the services that they provide. The house always wins. Now, here's the thing. I always say this. If you're like me and you have a moral and religious aversion to it, please just don't even try. Don't get involved. But if you're going to get involved, then as you heard somebody was saying, do the research and all those things. But understand, even with all those research and everything that goes on, please, the goalkeeper can still miss. He's a human being. Would you want to put all those ideas at the risk of someone missing a match or doing all those different things? I am surprised at the faithfulness of these young people to put 100 bob on soccer every day. Please take that 100 bob, go give it to Simon and his team every day so that you know by the time you're finished that it's going to work. Here's the example. Always think about it like this. Remember Allen Iverson? I know you're a basketball fan.
Yes.
Went completely broke, having made millions and millions of dollars. But there was a good thing. The deal that he had, I think it's with Adidas, they said it's $50 million you will not get until you are over 50. So he finished all the cash he had, but he knows that now he has to wait until he's 50. When he's over 50, then he'll have access to some money that he has. When you put your money into sport betting, Who knows?
Yeah.
If you put your money into other investments, there's a general better
Yeah.
way of thinking of
Yeah.
what the future could be.
And I think it's a big concern that we are having in the society at the moment. In fact, I think the next level of big business, in my view, is rehabilitation of the addicts on sport betting. It's that bad. Because things that you do, keep on repeatedly do, they become behavior and they solidify your values. And winning people out of that becomes very difficult. And as such, you find someone will even end up stealing to do betting, sport betting. But however, it's not a good way of wealth creation. It's not recommended. Money you don't earn doesn't last, doesn't stay. That's a fact. In fact, statistics indicate that the wealth of the entire world is just in about 5% of the population. Distribute that wealth in the 95%, between 3 to 5 years, it will have migrated back to the 5%. Reason being, wealth retention is in how you nurture growth of what you have. It's not gambling. Gambling, and just look at some of the statistics of the guys actually who won big. In 5 years, the guy will get 100 million, will buy a very nice car, and if it's in Kakamega, you are not going to park it there. You have to do a very nice car, nice gate, a nice house. And you'll also need to get someone who looks like sitting along, commensurate with that status, which means cost. And they'll have to chipodoa. That becomes another expense. You also need to have a good mechanic. And all that is just spending.
But don't they say dress how you want to be addressed?
True, but you see, also has to, I think the whole issue here is balance. That you are doing it affordably, not on debt.
Okay.
Here's the thing, Dan,
yes.
about betting. Always ask yourself, in any deal you get into, who is the fool?
Yeah.
On the simplest bet, if it's a soccer match, you're given 3 options, yes? Win, draw, loss. You can only choose one. So you have 1 out of 3 chances to win. You did basic probability in high school, didn't you?
I did mathematics even in campus.
Very good.
Yes.
So 1 out of 3 chances to win. The company that has given you that bet has how many chances to win? 2.
But your 1 out of 3 may have a higher probability by virtue of the
Hold
team
on.
strength.
Just at that level, they have 2 out of 3, you have 1 out of 3. There's already an imbalance. Next, now they also put the odds on each one of them. It's not you who decides the odds on that bet.
Yes.
So they artificially adjust the odds in their favor so that even if you're going for the team that you know will probably win, you will win less on it. And then you look at the other side, they've artificially increased the odds of that useless team that you know might not. But that day you're hoping, if I put 1,000 bob here, I'll get 10.
Yes.
That day that you're in that place, as he talked about the addiction that you're talking about, one day you'll find yourself saying, you know, today, they will win. And you'll put your cash there. The house always wins.
Okay, gentlemen, I just want to give you, in 1 minute combined, your closing remarks so we can cross over to entertainment and figure out how people are spending their money lavishly. Sure. I'll begin with you, Simon, as you just your closing remark very briefly, then Waithaka, then you can cross over.
I think I would say that wealth creation is an attitude, and having a discipline of saving sustainably is healthy for a financial stable future. And one key pillar is retirement saving. We all are working there, and as NWealth, we are available to support, whether as an employer or an individual, to be able to cushion your financial future. And when you save with us, you get a healthcare cover in retirement, if you so wish, plus an income replacement. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Waithaka.
I just want to say thank you so much to NTV for having us to have this discussion, because at Centonomy, our mission is to get the message of wealth creation out there as much as possible. So if you want to learn, please do come and see us, centonomy.com, Centonomy on Facebook. We will help you understand how to build that great business, to save and invest so that you put your money in the right place. And for those who want to stay in their business, we even have a course now for you, career development. If your teenagers are at home, send them to us during the holidays.
This has become a marketing session.
I have to do it.
That is your financial planning. But thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. Simon Wafubwa from NWealth and Waithaka from Centonomy, which by now you know more about. Hopefully not more than what we discussed.